The wind howled through the crumbling halls of the forgotten castle, carrying whispers of secrets buried for centuries. The hidden door trembled, then burst open with a violent gust that scattered dust like ghostly smoke. A young orphan named Adrian stood frozen, his hand still hovering near the latch, his eyes wide with disbelief. The air thickened, vibrating with an unseen power, and a voice slithered through the darkness, chilling his very soul. The voice said, "You are not who you believe you are, child of the lost crown." Adrian's breath caught, his heart pounding like a war drum as the walls seemed to lean closer, suffocating him with truths he was not ready to face. The floor groaned beneath his boots, echoing the weight of destiny he had unknowingly stepped into. As the torchlight flickered, shadows writhed across the stone walls like serpents weaving a warning. The cursed hero had been called, though he did not yet understand the path that awaited him. The night pressed against the castle walls, as if the world itself conspired to keep its secrets sealed. Adrian stumbled backward, his torchlight quivering as the voice echoed again. The whisper said, "Blood binds you to the crown, yet chains drag you into shadows." His breath hitched, fear clawing at his throat, but curiosity burned fiercer than his terror. He whispered to himself, "What do you mean? Who am I really?" The silence that followed was louder than thunder, broken only by the soft groan of ancient stone. The boy's pulse quickened, as though destiny itself now chased him through the dark halls. He felt the castle breathe with him, alive and watchful, ready to reveal or devour. He tightened his grip on the torch, vowing to uncover the truth, though his hands trembled from the weight of the unknown. The wind died suddenly, leaving the air heavy with stillness. Adrian's footsteps echoed, each step betraying his unease as he ventured deeper. His torch illuminated faded murals, telling stories of kings, wars, and betrayal. He traced one with his hand, feeling the grooves carved centuries ago. The image of a crowned child caught his gaze, eerily familiar. He muttered, "Why does this face look like mine?" Shadows deepened, and the voice returned, closer, colder. It said, "You are the heir they erased, the one destiny hides." Adrian recoiled, his mind spinning as fear clashed with the strange surge of belonging. He stood frozen, trembling, torn between denial and a truth he could not yet bear. The torches along the corridor ignited suddenly, one by one, as if unseen hands lit them. The flames stretched tall, casting the walls in fiery glow. Adrian staggered back, shielding his eyes as the corridor transformed from ruin into majesty. The cracked stones smoothed, the air grew warm, and banners of a forgotten kingdom shimmered into existence. He gasped, whispering, "This place, it remembers." His heart pounded as voices of long-dead royals echoed faintly, like chants from the grave. The curse pulsed in his chest, a reminder of blood he did not understand. With each flickering flame, he felt the pull of his hidden legacy tightening around him. Adrian's knees weakened, the weight of revelation pressing harder with each heartbeat. He felt both prisoner and chosen, chained to a truth he had never sought. The castle spoke to him, alive with memories, demanding he accept the crown that had once been stolen. He whispered, "I never asked for this." Yet the silence answered him with cruel certainty. The curse etched into his blood pulsed like fire, binding him tighter to a fate that offered no escape. The shadows thickened, wrapping him in both terror and promise. His journey had begun, though he had taken only a single step. The heir had been found, though he did not yet believe it. Morning light crept over the castle ruins, yet shadows clung stubbornly to the corridors. Adrian sat by the cracked window, staring at the endless forest that stretched beyond. His chest still burned from the curse that bound him. He whispered, "I never wanted a crown, only peace." The silence mocked him with reminders of whispered voices. A sudden crunch of gravel drew his attention as a cloaked figure entered. It was Eldrin, the mentor who had guided many but saved few. Eldrin said, "Fate has found you, whether you welcome it or not." Adrian's breath shook, fear and anger colliding. He demanded, "Why me? Why now?" The old man's eyes softened with pity and sorrow. He replied, "Because the kingdom bleeds, and only your blood can close its wounds." Eldrin moved closer, his staff tapping against the stone floor like a heartbeat of destiny. The air thickened as he lowered his hood, his lined face etched with both wisdom and regret. Adrian's gaze hardened, fists clenched on his knees. Eldrin said, "Your curse is no burden, it is the key. The crown was hidden within you, sealed in blood and shadow." Adrian shook his head, struggling to breathe, as the weight of those words crushed him. He spat, "A curse cannot save a kingdom, it only destroys." Eldrin's voice trembled slightly as he answered, "Only if you let it consume you. But wielded with courage, it can be salvation." The boy's heart raced as doubt and destiny warred within him. The forest outside whispered with secrets carried by the wind, and Adrian turned his eyes outward. The horizon glowed faintly red, smoke rising from distant villages. Eldrin followed his gaze and said, "The Dark Ruler burns what remains of loyalty. Soon, nothing will be left." Adrian's chest tightened, memories of his own lost family rushing forward. He muttered, "He destroys because of me." Eldrin placed a hand on his shoulder, heavy with years of guilt. "Not because of you," he said, "but because he fears what you will become." Adrian flinched, torn between anger and sorrow. The weight of innocent lives pressed into his conscience like chains. The truth was cruel. His existence had already begun a war. The room darkened as the sun slipped behind clouds, and Eldrin's voice lowered. He said, "You are not alone, though allies are scarce. Some will fight beside you, if you are brave enough to lead." Adrian's pulse quickened, fear sparking into fragile hope. He whispered, "Who would follow me? I'm no king, only a boy cursed by shadow." Eldrin's eyes flashed with conviction. "You are the heir, Adrian. Cursed or not, the blood in your veins commands loyalty. The people will see it, even if you cannot yet." Adrian swallowed hard, doubt clashing with the faint flicker of resolve. His heart told him he was not ready, but destiny offered no pause. The heavy silence cracked as the ground trembled faintly beneath their feet. Distant echoes of marching boots rolled through the air like thunder carried on steel. Adrian froze, torch quivering. Eldrin's jaw tightened, eyes narrowing. He said, "They have found us. The Dark Ruler sends his hunters." Adrian's breath hitched, fear flooding back as he clutched his chest. "I'm not ready," he whispered, voice trembling. Eldrin lifted his staff, steady and resolute. "Then you will learn, or you will die. Destiny spares no one." The boy's throat burned as he forced a nod, the first fragile spark of courage piercing his fear. The storm was no longer distant, it was here. The forest loomed vast and unyielding, its twisted branches clawing at the sky as Adrian fled the crumbling castle with Eldrin by his side. The dawn was swallowed by fog, and every sound seemed sharper in the silence. Adrian's chest ached, each breath heavy with fear and doubt. He muttered, "They will catch us before I learn to fight." Eldrin's voice cut through the mist, steady and commanding. "Strength is not in the sword but in the will. You must believe, even as shadows surround you." Adrian clenched his fists, torn between the weight of his curse and the faint fire of defiance growing within him. His path no longer led backward, it could only move forward into danger. They reached a clearing where a figure awaited, cloaked in forest colors, bow slung across their back. Adrian froze, torch raised defensively, though the stranger's eyes held no malice. The figure lowered their hood, revealing Liora, a young woman with fierce determination. She said, "Hunters are near. You draw danger like flame draws moths." Adrian stammered, "I never asked for their pursuit." Liora's voice softened. "But you cannot escape it. If you fall, the kingdom falls with you." Eldrin studied her with caution, yet offered a nod. "She knows the land. We need her." Adrian's heart thundered, caught between suspicion and a strange spark of trust he could not explain. The forest whispered with unseen dangers as the three pressed deeper into the woods. Adrian's unease grew with every step, shadows lengthening like claws. He whispered, "Can we trust her?" Eldrin's reply was low. "Trust is a blade with two edges. It cuts both ways." Liora glanced back, eyes sharp, but unreadable. "Your fear speaks louder than your courage," she said, her tone firm yet not unkind. Adrian bit back a retort, his pride burning beneath her words. He knew he was untrained, unworthy, yet every word she spoke only ignited the fire within him to prove otherwise. Suddenly, branches snapped ahead, and armored figures emerged from the fog, their eyes gleaming with cruel intent. Adrian's stomach lurched, torchlight flickering wildly as he stumbled backward. Liora notched an arrow with lightning speed, her gaze locked and steady. She hissed, "Move when I say." Eldrin stepped forward, staff glowing faintly, his voice like iron. "We cannot outrun them, we fight." Adrian's pulse thundered, his curse pulsing like fire in his veins. He thought, "If I fail, they die because of me." Fear bound him, yet the weight of destiny demanded he stand. For the first time he raised his torch as though it were a weapon. The hunters advanced, steel glinting in dim light, their footsteps echoing on damp earth. Adrian's chest tightened, his body screaming to flee, but the voice within whispered of fire and power. He whispered, "Not yet. I cannot lose them." Liora loosed her arrow, striking the first foe, the clash erupting like thunder. Eldrin's staff struck the ground, sending sparks of light scattering into the mist. Adrian stood frozen, the torch trembling as if waiting for him to choose. Fear battled courage in his heart, but destiny demanded action. The hunters circled, and in that moment he realized the curse was not his prison, it was his weapon. The battle in the mist subsided, leaving corpses sprawled across the forest floor. Adrian's torch burned low, his chest heaving as though each breath carried the weight of a kingdom. Liora wiped blood from her blade, eyes fierce yet steady. Eldrin leaned heavily on his staff, sweat beading on his weathered brow. Adrian whispered, "I was useless. I froze while you fought." Liora's voice was sharp. "You hesitate, and people die." The words cut deeper than any blade. Eldrin lifted his gaze, weary but firm. Courage is not born in a single fight. It grows in scars, in choices, in sacrifice. Adrian trembled, anger and shame colliding as the curse inside him pulsed like fire. The group moved through the forest until they reached a hidden glade where ruins of an ancient shrine rose from moss and stone. Eldrin said, "This place once blessed kings with strength. It may guide you now." Adrian stepped forward, unease gnawing at him. Strange symbols glowed faintly on cracked pillars. "How?" Liora's gaze lingered on him with suspicion, her hand never far from her weapon. Adrian whispered, "Why do you not trust me?" She replied coldly, "Because power corrupts, and I see shadows in your eyes." His jaw tightened, fury and despair burning. Eldrin's tone was grim. "Every heir faces doubt. Yours may kill you if you let it." The shrine pulsed with light as Adrian touched the central stone, visions surging into his mind. He saw kings crowned and betrayed, blood spilled for thrones, and curses etched into bone. He staggered back, clutching his chest, gasping for air. A whisper filled his ears. The heir must suffer before he rules. Liora rushed forward but stopped, torn between helping him and fearing the darkness swelling within him. Adrian shouted, "I don't want this." The vision faded, leaving him pale and trembling. Eldrin's voice was quiet but heavy. "Destiny never asks if you want it. It simply demands you bear it." The night deepened, stars piercing through the canopy, casting faint silver over the shrine. Adrian sat on the cold stone, sweat glistening, his body still trembling from the vision. Liora's voice broke the silence. "You're not the only one cursed with burdens." Her eyes softened, shadows of her own pain flickering there. Adrian looked at her, surprise cutting through despair. He asked, "What chains you?" She turned away, her voice low. "A duty that will cost me everything." Eldrin closed his eyes, sensing truths unspoken. Adrian's heart stirred with empathy, realizing he was not alone in his suffering, though the weight remained unbearable. Suddenly, the air snapped cold, and a mocking laugh echoed through the glade. From the shadows emerged Kale, the villainous ally cloaked in dark robes, his eyes gleaming with false warmth. Adrian stiffened, torchlight flaring weakly. Kale said, "I've searched long for you, heir of shadows. I bring counsel and protection if you will have it." His words dripped with charm, yet a coil of unease twisted in Adrian's chest. Liora's hand went to her blade instantly, but Eldrin raised a hand to stop her. Adrian whispered, "Why would you help me?" Kale smiled faintly. "Because your throne is mine to restore, or to ruin." The shrine's glow flared brighter, shadows twisting into crowns of flame above the ancient stone. Adrian staggered as voices from ages past rose in a deafening chorus. They cried, "The heir returns!" He clutched his chest, gasping as burning light carved shapes into the air. A crown of fire hovered above his head, searing into his vision. Liora's eyes widened, shock freezing her in place. Eldrin whispered, voice breaking, "It is true. You are the hidden heir." Adrian's breath caught, horror in his throat. "No, I am cursed, not chosen." The fire flared, branding his fate. Kale's smirk deepened, his voice silk. "The curse and crown are one. You cannot deny what you are." The light dimmed, leaving the glade heavy with silence. Adrian fell to his knees, sweat dripping, chest heaving. He shouted, "I am no king. I bring death, not hope." Liora stepped forward, eyes burning with betrayal. "You hid this truth. You let us fight while you concealed who you are." Adrian's heart twisted, tears in his voice. "I never knew. The curse stole my past. I only wanted to survive." Eldrin raised his staff, his face lined with sorrow. "The truth cannot be undone, Adrian. Blood calls for blood." Kale chuckled darkly. "And thrones call for sacrifice. Choose quickly, boy, for the kingdom does not wait." The shrine pulsed once more, projecting visions into the night sky. Images of a murdered king, a betrayed queen, and a baby carried into exile blazed across the stars. Adrian's heart stopped as he saw his own face in the child's reflection. Eldrin said, "Your father was slain, your mother cursed, and you were hidden to survive. That curse is the seal of your bloodline." Adrian staggered, shaking his head. "My life is a lie, everything stolen." Liora's voice cracked with anger. "Then we bleed because of you." Kale's voice slid between them like venom. "Or because of those who failed him. The boy is both victim and king." Adrian collapsed to the ground, tears streaming, his hands clawing at the earth as though he could bury destiny. He cried, "I cannot carry this. I will destroy everything I touch." Eldrin's voice shook with grief. "You carry not choice but burden. That is the weight of kingship." Liora's fury cracked into sorrow, her voice trembling. "And what of us? We follow a boy cursed by shadows." Adrian looked up, eyes hollow. "Then leave me." Kale stepped closer, his tone silky. "Yes, leave him, or kneel to him. Either way he will reign." The night pressed heavier, suffocating them with the chains of truth. The glade fell into stillness as the fire crown faded, leaving only the sound of Adrian's ragged breath. He rose unsteadily, his silhouette frail yet unbroken. He whispered, "If I am heir, then I will not run. But if this curse kills me, so be it." Eldrin's eyes shone with quiet pride. "Then you begin to understand." Liora turned away, voice cold. "Do not expect loyalty so easily earned." Kale laughed softly, clapping his hands. "At last, the boy accepts his throne. Now the true game begins." The night grew darker, the air heavy with betrayal and fractured trust, as Adrian stepped into the shadow of his destiny. The shrine lay silent, but beyond the trees, the glow of fires painted the horizon red. Villages burned, screams carried by the wind. Adrian's chest tightened as guilt twisted like a blade inside him. He whispered, "They suffer because of me." Eldrin's voice was firm. "They suffer because of the tyrant who fears you." Liora's eyes, sharp with both anger and sorrow, lingered on the flames. "If you are king, then fight as one." Adrian's fists clenched, fear and fury colliding. The curse within him pulsed like molten iron, begging release. Kale's smile flickered in the shadows. "The crown waits, boy. Will you wear it in fire or in ash?" The group descended into the valley where refugees huddled, faces hollow with fear. Children clung to mothers, men carried wounded, and the smell of smoke filled the air. Adrian's heart ached and he whispered, "They look to me, but I am no savior." Eldrin's hand pressed his shoulder. "They look because they see what you refuse to." A child pointed, whispering, "The heir." Hope flickered like fragile glass in the crowd. Liora's gaze softened, her walls cracking. "If they believe, perhaps you should too." Adrian's throat burned, torn between shame and a fragile ember of strength. Kale's eyes glimmered, hungry for the power in their faith. The night deepened as scouts arrived, reporting that the Dark Ruler's army marched closer. Panic rippled through the refugees. Adrian's voice shook. "I cannot lead them into war." Eldrin's eyes blazed. "Then you condemn them to slaughter." Liora stepped forward, fire in her tone. "I will fight whether or not you stand beside me." Adrian's heart thundered. The curse within whispered promises of power, urging him to unleash it. He pressed his palms against the earth, trembling. "If I fight, I may become the monster I fear." Kale's voice slid in like silk. "Or you may become the king the world awaits." The earth trembled with the march of soldiers, their banners visible through the trees. Time was gone. Eldrin raised his staff, its glow brighter than before, voice ringing with urgency. "The curse will not guide you. Your heart will. Stand." Adrian rose, hands trembling, his torch burning brighter as if feeding on his resolve. Liora drew her bow, eyes set with steel. "Then we fight, not as cowards, but as the last hope." Refugees huddled closer, fear etched on every face. Kale leaned closer to Adrian, whispering, "Every throne is built on blood. Spill it, and they will call you king." Adrian's chest burned, destiny pressing in from every side. The first clash echoed as enemy scouts broke through the trees, steel flashing. Arrows flew, cries pierced the air. Adrian's torch flared unnaturally bright, his curse awakening. He shouted, "I will not run. I am heir." The fire burst outward, striking the first soldier, flames licking his armor. Refugees gasped, awe and fear mingled in their eyes. Liora fought fiercely beside him, arrows striking true. Eldrin's staff sent waves of light through the shadows. Kale's smirk widened, satisfied by the bloodshed. Adrian's heart pounded, fear and power twisting together. He realized the battle was not only for survival, but for his very soul. The battlefield roared with fire and steel, the dawn sky swallowed by smoke. Adrian stood at the center, his torch blazing like a second sun. Soldiers clashed around him, screams echoing through the forest. He shouted, "I will not be broken. I am heir." Liora fought at his side, her arrows striking true, her voice fierce. "Then stand as king, not boy." Eldrin raised his staff, light pouring like a shield around the refugees. Kale's voice cut through the chaos, mocking, "Yes, bleed for the crown, boy. Every king must be baptized in blood." Adrian's heart thundered, torn between fear and power, knowing the end was here. The Dark Ruler emerged through the smoke, towering in black armor, his eyes like burning coals. His voice shook the earth. "You are but a child cursed, not king." Adrian's legs trembled, yet he stepped forward, torch raised. He answered, "I am both curse and crown. You cannot unmake me." The clash of their powers split the sky, fire against shadow, light against abyss. Eldrin cried, "Do not falter." Liora loosed an arrow that shattered against the Dark Ruler's shield. Kale whispered behind Adrian, "Strike him down. Take his throne, or it will consume you." The moment of truth pressed like iron on Adrian's soul. The dark ruler struck, shadows tearing through the ground, soldiers falling like wheat. Adrian staggered, curse blazing in his chest, pain searing through his veins. He screamed, "I will not bow." The torch exploded into fire, swirling around him like wings. Liora gasped, awe in her eyes. "You are more than air, you are flame reborn." Eldrin shouted, "Control it, or it will consume you." Kale's laughter echoed, delighted by the destruction. Adrian clenched his fists, forcing the fire to bend to his will. Flames wrapped his body, a crown of light forming again. His curse was no longer prison, it was his weapon. The final clash shook the battlefield as Adrian hurled fire against the dark ruler's shadow. The earth split, trees burned, the sky turned to ash. The dark ruler roared, "You are nothing but cursed flame." Adrian shouted back, "Then let the curse save what you could not." He drove his fire into the tyrant's chest, light searing through the armor. The dark ruler screamed, consumed by his own shadows. Silence fell as his body collapsed, smoke rising like a dying storm. Adrian stood shaking, fire dimming, his body trembling from the toll. His crown of flame flickered, fragile but unbroken. Silence fell, broken only by crackling flames. Refugees knelt, eyes wide with awe. Liora whispered, "The king has risen." Adrian's breath came ragged, his fire fading. He whispered, "I am no king, only a cursed boy who chose to stand." Eldrin bowed his head. "And that choice is what makes you king." Kale's smile curved cold, his voice soft. "A throne won by blood. Let us see how long you can hold it." Adrian looked to the horizon, dawn breaking beyond the smoke. His crown of flame flickered once, then vanished. Yet in his eyes burned a fire no darkness could extinguish.